You did find out. And that's just going to be. So I watched a bit of mine already. But yeah, I mean, basically, I need to get back into another. I've got to get into another mix. And reading. Yeah, just the fact that
Okay, I think we're live. Welcome to the discussion of the Not the Booker Prize, the final judging round. I'm Sam Jordison, the chairman of the judges, and I'm joined by Dr. Victoria James, Jayne White, and William Rycroft, and we're going to hear everything quite quickly so we can get down to the interesting business of voting. But first of all, we have the public vote to discuss, which is too close to call. There are two standout books from that, which are The Last Tiger and The Visitors. Depending on how you vote, count the votes, we have a different winner according to different systems. So we've decided that it's too close to call and to allot them one vote each from the public, which means that the judges are going to be very important in this round. So I thought we would start by talking about The Last Tiger. And is there a judge who wants to say something about The Last Tiger first of all?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely one of my two favourites out of the six we had to read. I mean, I thought it was a really beautifully written, sort of smoothly written, beautiful use of language. I particularly enjoyed the fact that it took me to places that I'd not been before and that you very rarely go. It took us to Tasmania at the turn of the century. It's about a 12-year-old boy, a Lithuanian boy, whose father becomes a tiger man, a tiger shooter in the new sort of colonial settlement there, and but it also weaves that with the story of his family's sort of escape from Lithuania. And I just really love the way this book had sort of mythical, wild sort of world of the past and the recollections of the family fleeing Lithuania and brutality, and then it also had the energy and the life of their new life in Tasmania. So I thought it blended those beautifully, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And let's hit Simon Sylvester's The Visitors.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely one of my two favourites. I thought what he did really well in that book was to create a great sense of place. So it's set up in the Shetland Islands, so the island of Bancree, which I believe is fictional. And there was a really good sense of the isolation of living on those islands, and also a really good sense of the main character, Flora, who's sort of a teenage girl. That idea of your own isolation as a teenager and her desire for escape and freedom, which of course is very keenly felt if you're living on a rather deserted island. And also, I think what he did really well was to incorporate some of the Scottish sort of myths and tales. And so what you have there was a book which was almost a genre novel, so a bit of a thriller, a bit of a crime novel, but with these rather nice mythical storytelling elements to it, which I thought really helped to enlarge it and make it a much more interesting novel. So a lot going for it, I thought. Very interesting.
Brilliant. So the good news is that we have judges who are behind both of the public choices, but of course there were other books in the running, and one of my favourites was certainly The Smoke is Rising by Mahesh Rao. And Jayne, I believe you enjoyed that one too.
I did, yes, Sam. For those who haven't read it, it's a very sort of multi-layered kind of novel. Really, the main character is the city of Mysore, and you visit it through the eyes of lots of the residents who live in different circumstances. So you've got very wealthy and successful people sort of living alongside people who are living in extreme poverty. There's also a strong theme of women's lives. There's a suggestion that women's lives are becoming freer and starting to change, but you get the sense that
okay,
women...
I think we can't hear Jane. No one can hear Jane. Sorry, Jane. Let's try and patch you in again in a minute. While we're trying to get communication with Jane, let's move on quickly to the Goldfinch, which in the first round was a very popular choice, and this round got a few votes, but nothing like as many. I've already put my opinion on the blog about the Goldfinch. So I wonder if anyone's got strong feelings about the Goldfinch.
Yeah, I mean, I'd heard a lot about the book before reading it. Of course, I'm one of many people who's read The Secret History and loved it. I read The Little Friend and didn't love that quite so much. I sort of heard from a lot of people that it started off well and then went a bit rubbish. I actually really enjoyed it. It's a huge book. I mean, it's absolutely gigantic, 864 pages, I think, my copy. But I didn't feel bored as such. The only time I think I might have felt a bit bored was when I was meant to feel bored, because that's when the character of Theo was going through a bit of a malaise. But I think she's just an extraordinary writer. But she doesn't really need much puffing up from us on Not the Booker. So she didn't really need to be on the list. And there's lots to discuss with that book.
Okay. Is that the only reason not to put it forward? Just because she doesn't need it, or what? I mean, my personal opinion is probably that there are better books on the list anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that, Victoria? Sorry, Will.
Well, I mean, last year we had a very similar situation whereby we had sort of 5, if you like, sort of less high-profile books, and then one by Kate Atkinson, Life After Life, and I voted for that to win last year. It did win, and I thought it was far and away the best book on the list. I was worried we were going to get a rerun of the same thing this year, but absolutely not. I found the Goldfinch. Beautiful, beautiful writing, absolutely wasted on a deeply uncharismatic cast of characters who I just really didn't care about. If I hadn't had to read it for this, I would not have cared enough about them to drag myself through 850 pages of this stuff. So not getting my vote this year, and certainly not. I don't share Will's qualms about it would have been a winner were it not that it's sort of so huge without our help.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well that's good. And there are the other 2 books on the list as well. Hopefully we'll get back to Jane in a minute. But Cairo and First Time Solo, they didn't get a strong vote this time, and I'm assuming no one's got a strong feeling in support of either of those. So we can probably eliminate those right away. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
I mean, I quite enjoyed First Time Solo. I thought it was an enjoyable read. I enjoyed the banter, and I thought it was quite interesting, but not enough for me to sort of put it in my top 2, certainly. And Cairo, I didn't really enjoy for all sorts of reasons.
Poor old Cairo. Is that fair enough with you, Victoria, as well?
Yeah, I mean, I also enjoyed First Time Solo more than I think you did. I just kind of felt that again, I struggled with the choice of protagonist. The protagonist there I thought was actually the least interesting of the quartet that we were presented with. I mean, obviously I know there's a massive hoo-ha around the infamous Booker a few years ago when sort of readability was prioritised, but in a way, likability. I mean, books are like people; they have the complexity, and you want to spend time with interesting ones rather than vice versa. And I just felt that First Time Solo was hampered by its choice of protagonist. Although I'd like to see more from Maloney in the future, definitely. Cairo was messy, infuriating. I kind of felt it could have had a lot of potential. I mean, it reminded me a little bit of the Wind Up Bird Chronicle, which was a truly magical, outstanding, infuriating book, but managed to sort of to infuriate me in the right ways. And Cairo was sadly just on the wrong side of that line.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Well, Jane, we're still having trouble hearing, unfortunately. But
can you not hear me now?
We'll come back to Mahesh Rao shortly. But it sounds to me like we've pretty much narrowed things down to Simon Sylvester and Tony Black.
We should talk about Rao because I thought it was a brilliantly written book. It keeps so many plates spinning. I think Jane, of the three of us, is the one that sort of feels most passionately about it, and it's really sad that we're not sort of hearing her here. I agree that it is it's a huge accomplishment. The way in which various character storylines are interwoven is done probably better than in any other of the 6 books, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'd agree with that. I thought he was a talented writer, and it's really nice that the Not of the Booker. One of the things it's really good at is pulling out writers you might not read otherwise, and who are going to go on and do great things in the future. Like we've had Lars Iyer in the past, and Benjamin Myers, who just keeps getting better. And I think Mahesh Rao is definitely going to be one of those writers that goes on to do very good things. We'll see. Only the test of time will do that. Okay, we're going to try for Jane again.
I really enjoyed Mahesh Rao. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, okay, lovely. I really liked it. I thought the city of Mysore was represented as a character. We saw it through lots of different sort of layers of society through all the different characters. I like the emphasis on women's issues and how women's lives are beginning to change, but probably not fast enough for the characters involved. And I think the thing I really liked about it, that after reading a lot on the shortlist, which were quite wordy and quite heavy on the description, you find that in The Smoke is Rising, you've not got a paragraph that is wasted or is kind of in the way or slows it down. So I think that was the main reason. That was my preference.
Fantastic. Good. I'm glad you managed to join us. That's just what I wanted to hear. So I think I'll put you on the spot first of all as well. Is that going to be your vote, do you think?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And Victoria, what are you going to go for?
I had a really hard time deciding this year. I would have been very happy to see any one of 3, Rao's The Smoke is Rising, or Black's The Last Tiger, or Sylvester's The Visitors. I thought they were all wonderful books that I thoroughly enjoyed reading. The one I enjoyed reading the most, and I also thought had wonderful literary polish, and I also thought had some really unexpectedly complex and emotionally rewarding characterization, The Visitors by Simon Sylvester. I smelled the sea. I felt the feelings of 17-year-old Flo as she comes to some really important realizations about herself. I loved the mythology, and I loved the fact that you even get a little bit of kind of police thriller thrown in on top. So for me, that was a book that did everything. But a really wonderful top 3, I thought.
Great. And William, how about you?
Yeah, there were a few books that I enjoyed, and I think if I had to pick one as my choice, it would be because I think that it works best as a whole. The most successful novel out of all of them, and that would be The Visitors by Simon Sylvester.
Great. Well, it's looking like we're going to have a winner. No one want to say anything for The Last Tiger at the last minute, to go along with the public, which I thought was a really interesting and well put together book. I certainly knew nothing about Tasmanian tigers, so it opened up a whole new thing for me. But I think it's looking like Simon Sylvester is going to be crowned our champion, barring any last minute.
Winner.
Okay. Well, I think we've pretty quickly come to a decision, and I think we've gone along with the public vote, so that's worked this year, and it's a quality book.
You got your stuff.
Great. Okay, we're there. Thanks, everyone. Let's sign off now. Brilliant.
Cool. So maybe, Dana, if you want to log into the